We are just days out from the last government shutdown. In a couple of weeks, we face the possibility of an additional shutdown. And so as we get closer to that point where we might enter into another shutdown, it is very important to try to figure out what exactly Donald Trump is thinking about immigration, border security, the chance of getting a wall. And here is what we're going to do. We are going to use all of the available information to try to patch together an image of Donald Trump's thinking on this topic. And this is a bit of a spoiler, I don't know that we're gonna be able to do it, even though he has said a lot on the topic. We're also gonna break down what the recent Democratic statements are about the negotiations that are going on right now with the Republicans about the possibility of averting another shutdown. First though, Donald Trump has been on one this morning, and a lot of what he's been talking about has been about the border, about Mexico, immigration, and all of that. Here are a few of the things he said, and as we read these, I want you to try to figure out, does Donald Trump think we need a wall? Does he think we already have a wall? Does he need funding for it, or does he not need funding for it? And we're gonna try to figure that out. So first he says, large sections of wall have already been built with much more either under construction or ready to go. Renovation of existing walls is also a very big part of the plan to finally, after many decades, properly secure our capital border. The wall is getting done one way or the other. So, if you've been following along with this, and if you believe that we do need a wall, you might understandably leave that tweet thinking, oh, okay, so we've already got a bunch of the wall and it's gonna be built no matter what. And so I've been hearing on the news about the Democrats and the Republicans going back and forth about funding, but I guess that doesn't really matter because we already have a bunch of it and it's gonna be built one way or another. It's also got a new name, wall, in all caps. Okay. Now, bear in mind, as we were going through that, there had been this weird conversation during the shutdown about what the border, like the physical barrier at the border was supposed to be called. So depending on the day, it was steel slats or a concrete barrier or a wall or a fence or God knows what. And in fact, Kellyanne Conway took the media to task for calling it a wall, saying you're trying to make the border barrier a four-letter word, which it is. It is 4 letters and all of them are capitalized. So she was mad about that. And now, just a couple of days later, he tweets this. Let's just call them walls from now on and stop playing political games. A wall is a wall. But you just sent out your surrogate to argue that calling it a wall is a ploy. It is propaganda to turn the people against border security. And now he's doing it. So I guess it's a wall again. I don't know. Now, a little bit more on the negotiations going on right now in Congress between Republicans and Democrats. The president weighs in, I'm sure helpfully, saying Republicans on the Homeland Security Committee are wasting their time. Democrats, despite all of the evidence, proof, and caravans coming, are not going to give money to build the desperately needed wall. I've got you covered. Wall is already being built. I don't expect much help. Wall is already being, like, come on, how do you still support this guy? But fine, okay. So right now, the people that stuck with Donald Trump on the Republican side through this shutdown, despite the fact that it was gonna hurt their approval ratings, it was gonna hurt their chances of being reelected because of how much damage they took through this shutdown fight, they're in there right now with Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats trying to get the funding that he has said, that he has convinced so many of their followers is necessary. And while they're doing that, they're literally meeting today, Donald Trump goes on Twitter and says they're wasting their time, they're not gonna get the money, and maybe it doesn't matter after all, okay? Now, again, now, by the way, bear in mind we've read 3 tweets. So in the 3rd tweet, we desperately need a wall that will be built. In the first tweet, it's already mostly built and it's gonna be built no matter what, so don't even worry about it. So depending on which moment of the day it is, if you're a Trump supporter, you have a difficult mental task at hand to try to figure out what are you supposed to be concerned about? What are you supposed to be pushing for at this point? But there is a little bit of fear-mongering added on top of it. Trump says more troops being sent to the southern border to stop the attempted invasion of illegals through large caravans into our country. We have stopped the previous caravans and we will stop these also. With a wall, it would be so much easier and less expensive being built. So again, now it's already being built. So I guess I shouldn't be worried about it. I guess I shouldn't call my senator or my representative if I'm a Republican. And also, we're back to the caravans. Now history is being rewritten and the caravans were stopped. So you may not know that. the caravans got all the way through South America, Latin America, to the border, and were stopped. But we desperately need a wall to stop them, even though we've already been stopping them. Again, I can't follow it. And by the way, that didn't even happen. Now, the caravans stopped being a topic of conversation after the election because it never really was one. It was never close to our border. It was never going to push through our military, wall or no wall. Fox News just stopped talking about it. Donald Trump just stopped talking about it because it no longer was a useful thing to try to motivate their base in advance of the midterm elections. But now the president of the United States is lying to the country, saying that we thankfully stopped an invading force multiple times from crossing over the border. So the reason that all of this is important is that we have a State of the Union coming up, and it seems likely that Donald Trump, if he learned anything from the last shutdown battle, going by what we have out of him today, has forgotten those lessons. And going into a State of the Union in just a couple of days, that is potentially dangerous because he is once again being advised to declare a national emergency. And if he thinks that the Democrats aren't going to give him the money that, depending on when you talk to him, he either needs or does not need, he might take that opportunity to, with the eyes of the nation on him, declare that national emergency. And by the way, today, both coming out of the House Senate Conference Committee and in a press conference with Nancy Pelosi, multiple different statements coming out of the Democratic Party saying that there is not going to be funding for a border wall, no matter what is given, no matter what happens in these negotiations. That sets the stage potentially for a very exciting but potentially tragic and dangerous State of the Union next week. Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.